about downsizing into the sweet spot, and that's primarily for IT contractors who are full-time 40 hours a week at one client, or maybe you're an IT consultant who has one major client that takes up at least 3/4 of your time for months on end. Maybe you're a corporate software developer, you're one of an army of tech providers for your client, or maybe a contract employee or long-term temp. Whatever it is, if you recognize yourself on this list and you'd like to downsize into the sweet spot of small business computer consulting, we have a special downsizing calculator that'll help you work through that process. Now, with the downsizing calculator, when we're talking about downsizing into the sweet spot of small business computer consulting, we're talking a lot about your revenue concentration. As you downsize from enterprise size accounts, Fortune 1000, Fortune 5000 type of accounts, large mid-sized businesses where there's substantial in-house IT departments. As you look to downsize into the sweet spot of small business computer consulting, there's a couple of key metrics that you want to watch out for. And first, you want to, again, start by taking a pulse of where you are today and then come up with some goals for 90 days from now, 180 days from now, and 1 year from today. So the first metric is how many different independent revenue streams do you have? And right now, if you only have one major client, you only have one revenue stream, which makes you pretty vulnerable to it all going away real quick. Even if you have two clients that it's divided upon, that could be a huge issue. But let's go, and we're taking a pulse of where you are today. So let's go ahead and fill in that you have one independent source of revenue. All your revenue is coming from one place. Next metric that we're concerned about is what percentage of your monthly revenue comes from your biggest client. What percentage of your revenue comes from your biggest client? And if everything is coming from this one client, it's 100%. So let's go ahead and cell B7 and fill in 100%. Now, next after that, we're concerned with what percentage of your revenue comes from your three biggest clients. And we said before that you only had one client, so it's 100% again. Now, if you had three major clients and 70% of the revenue was coming from your biggest client and the balance of the 30% was coming from the other two, again, you'd be pretty heavily concentrated. You'd still have 100% of your revenue coming from your three biggest clients, which means that if any one of them goes away, you could take a major hit. So let's look at where we're going to go. Where do we want to be a year from now? What are our desired metrics for where we're going? So let's say a year from now we want to have 10 different major clients. We want to have our IT services revenue coming from 10 different sources. We'd like our biggest client to be no more than 20% of our monthly services revenue, and we'd like our three biggest clients to be no more than 50% of our services revenue. So in other words, we could afford to lose our three biggest clients and we'll still only be halfway out of business. So again, these are key things, really important things to look at when you're looking to downsize from enterprise-sized accounts to the sweet spot of small business. Now that we decided our 1 year goals, it's a lot easier to go back and pick some interim goals here. So in terms of independent revenue sources, how are we going to get from one client to 10 clients? Well, 90 days from now, maybe we want to have 4 clients, and 6 months from now, maybe we want to have 7 clients. And when you look at it that way, where we're adding 3 clients in the first 90 days, and then adding another 3 clients in the next 90 days, and another 3 clients in the next 6 months, it's a lot more manageable. And again, you're going to learn throughout the course some ways that you can become almost an overnight pro at the sales and marketing aspects. That's all. We talk a lot about that in session 3. Now, in terms of the percentage of monthly revenue coming from your biggest client, if you want to diversify to get from your biggest client being 100% of your monthly revenue to 20%, maybe the goal is that 90 days from now you'll be down to the point that 75% comes from your biggest client. And then maybe 6 months from now, 50% is coming from your biggest client. So ultimately you arrive at that 20% figure a year from now. And then what about your 3 biggest clients? Well, let's pretty much follow it down the same way. We're at 100% concentration on our 3 biggest clients. We want to get to 50%. So maybe 90 days from now our goal is to get to 85% concentration. And then 6 months from now our goal might be to get to 75% concentration. So we can ultimately get to the point that we're more diversified, so we're less dependent on a single client literally putting us out of business. So that's how the downsizing calculator works when we're looking at migrating down to the sweet spot of small business computer consulting.
Do you want more of the best, steady, high-paying computer business clients? Then sign up for free, proven computer business tips now at computerbusinesstips.com. Again, that's computerbusinesstips.com.